Hello, everyone. My name is Kirk Bachman, and welcome back to The Ultimate Dish. Today, I'm incredibly excited, and we are honored to have Maria Zouves, a celebrated opera singer, educator, director, and producer who is now forging an exciting new path in the culinary world. Maria is a true culinary explorer and food strategist, passionate about community enrichment, beautiful word, better living, longevity through food, and so on, and so much more, I should say. Having spent decades incorporating food into her musical programming, she has always believed in the deep connection between cuisine and the arts. Her journey into the culinary field became official when she earned a baking certificate while studying under the renowned Chef Simcas. She currently is completing her additional degree in holistic wellness and nutrition from Auguste Escoffier School of Culinary Arts. That's right. As a sought-after lecturer and writer, Maria shares her expertise on career development, healthier living, and the power of food. She is a frequent guest at Canyon Ranch in Lenox, Massachusetts, where she is today. Her food writing is gaining attention through her Food for Life segment, an ongoing feature in Tampa Bay Magazine. Beyond the kitchen, Maria is a champion for mentorship and the arts. As president of the Sherrill Milnes VOICE Programs, this is a program she co-founded with her husband, legendary baritone Sherrill Milnes. She has spent over 25 years nurturing artists and building new audiences for classical vocal music. She has directed operas across the U.S. and Europe, including productions at the Estates Theater in Prague and Opera Tampa. As a Greek-American soprano, she has performed leading roles internationally, made her Carnegie Hall debut in 1997, and is now preparing for a return to Don't Tell Mama Cabaret Theater in New York City to promote her upcoming classical cabaret album, Everything. Get ready for a fascinating conversation about the intersection of music, food, and well-being, and how Maria is inspiring others to embrace a more intentional way of living. And there she is. Oh my goodness, I'm exhausted. Exhausted after that introduction. How are you?
I'm well. I'm a little overwhelmed. Did I do all that? I don't know. It means I've lived a long time.
You did. You did. It's fascinating. And and I wasn't really sticking to the script because it read so well, and I wanted to make it even more exciting. Hey, let's before we start, I'm super excited. I'm going to put you on the spot. But first, remind us where you are, why you're there, and a little bit more about, where you are in Massachusetts.
Sure. Well, I'm in the famous area of Tanglewood, which is a great music festival in the summer. So this is Lenox, Mass, and I'm at Canyon Ranch, which is such a beautiful wellness center and spa and has a great culinary tradition. So Chef Julian is amazing, and I eat too much and I play too much, but I'm here doing I just finished my concert last night. I did a cabaret concert called Classical Cabaret with a great colleague of mine, David Friedman, and another, Asaf Gleisner. And I'm doing a class tomorrow on strategic planning. So it's a happier
Okay.
tomorrow through strategic. So it's, we kind of do what we can. And it's all based on the fact that I love cultivating the future of everything, whether it's your future, my future, legacy of music, legacy of food, of culture. So whatever it takes. And so I sometimes come up with all sorts of interesting ideas of how to pass the torch on, not just from me, but from the person before me. So, it's that wonderful relay that we do in life.
And the strategic planning is geared towards what?
Well, for singers, which is what I started doing it for, it was helping them understand. And I think for culinarians too, it's so important. We sort of have a vague idea of what we want to do. So when you talk to someone who's in school, they say, I want to have a food truck. I want to have a restaurant. I want to be a personal chef. And yeah, but what are the steps to get there? Have you really thought about it? So because I worked as an arts administrator, one of the things that we were really involved with at the time that I was at the Performing Arts Center, Tampa Bay Performing Arts Center, which is now the Strass Center, is the big strategic plan. So building a strategic plan in a formal way, I tweaked it to work with a creative. So I have this system that's based on actually Greek, and it's the idea of we live in three areas. We live in the ego, which is the ego, me. We live in the afto, which is the thing directly in front of us, like our family or our jobs. And then we live in the agora, which the agora is the marketplace, the world. How does the world perceive us? So I take those three things and I help singers build their plan. So I started doing it with people here at Canyon Ranch because so many people are here to answer questions for themselves. So it's not even about a plan per se, it's about a methodology to understand, what do I want and how do I get there? And sometimes we don't understand the system of doing it. We get vague or we get too granular. So yeah, I've had a lot of fun with that.
That is so brilliant. Many things are going through my mind. One, where does she find the time? Ego, family, marketplace. Brilliant. I'm actually working on the strategic plan for the school.
Oh, so you
and
know what
and
I'm
so
talking
so I'm
about.
learning. I'm learning here. I absolutely love that. Would it be just so forward of me to ask at the beginning of our chat together? So I've been playing some tracks in the house as I prepare for our little chat. Your voice is absolutely stunning, beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
Um, my daughter was trying to replicate it a little bit. I had to ask her to stop a couple of times, but
Well, the fact
I
that she knows Songbird makes me happy
well,
because,
she knows it now.
oh,
She knows it. She came home from gymnastics and it was just blaring through the house because I was kind of moving
wow.
around and just kind of getting myself all pumped up to chat with you. But is it awkward do people ask you to do that all the time? Can you sing something for us?
I know we sort of hate it, but I will tell you right now, I don't hate it that you asked because uh, we tease because people will say silly things like just belt out a high note at a party, you know. And I can I
I
say
wouldn't
some?
do that, Maria. I
Well,
wouldn't ask you to do that.
can I tell?
Okay.
I will sing, but let me tell you just I write scripts. For the shows that I do, and I love doing it because you can put pieces of music together that don't belong with just a little bit of verbal glue. So I
Yeah,
did this
yeah.
dinner party theme where it was little scenarios where people were drinking at a cocktail party and people were talking or they were sitting at a table and they were eating and little segues like Laugh-In used to do, little joke segues into,
Yes,
you
yes,
remember that?
yes, yes,
Into
yeah.
song. So one of them was what happens to all of us in opera, which is this very drunk gentleman walks up to our mezzo. It's in the script. It didn't really, well, it's really happened, but it didn't happen in that moment. He walks up to our mezzo and he says, "Wow, you're a tall drink of water. What do you do?" And he's completely drunk. And she goes, "Well, I'm an opera singer." And he goes, oh my God, that's crazy. And he goes, "Here, everybody, come here. She's an opera singer. Just belt out a high note. Just give me a high note." And
Oh,
she
Lord.
very calmly says, "Well, wait a minute, what do you do?" And he says, "I'm a gynecologist." And she says, "I tell you what, you don't do what you do at this party, and I won't do what I do at this party." I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but I
Well,
just
I don't
remember
know. Somebody will either edit that or not. I think it's
it's
hilarious.
worth saying. So, the point is you don't do your job when you're playing, right? But
Yeah,
this is part of our job. We're having a
it
wonderful
is part of our job.
conversation. Yeah.
I'll even tee it up more. I mentioned to you earlier. I have a dear friend, Sylvia, who's an opera singer from Hungary, and her family's in the business. And there's not a birthday party that isn't elevated a little bit more when Sylvia's part of singing happy birthday.
Right.
everyone tends to stop singing as Sylvia finishes the song, and she's done many events for us. And music is just, we'll talk more about music, but yeah, I'm going to give the stage to you to I have chills, and I haven't even asked you to sing it yet, but now I'm asking you to
Well,
sing.
now the pressure's on,
There
right?
is a little bit of pressure. You got the roses. I already sent you flowers. So here we go.
Well, and I don't know about the mic, so if it cuts out, I can't control that. But one of the songs that I've sung my entire life before I really wanted to be an opera singer, that's why the album Everything is so near and dear to my heart. Because before I wanted to be an opera singer, I wanted to be the next Barbara Streisand. I have the nose for it. I have the Greek nose, and I totally was in love with her music. I loved Bette Midler. I loved Judy Garland. So when I was 11 years old, I had to go to a church thing about The Wizard of Oz, and they had me sing Dorothy. So I sang Over the Rainbow, and I've sung it my whole
Oh,
life. So the story goes that I concertized a lot with my husband when we were first together until he retired from the stage, and I always ended with Rainbow, and he always ended with Maria from West Side Story, which was kind of
oh,
nice, right?
chills,
Yeah,
chills,
it was very
chills.
sweet.
Wow.
So uh, I sang it for a fundraiser in New York City because Tony Randall, now a lot of our culinarian friends and colleagues won't know that name. They're too young. But Tony
I know the
Randall,
name. I
we
know
know
the
the name.
name. Yep.
The Odd Couple,
The
very
Odd
famous
Couple. Yeah.
actor.
Yeah.
Heather was also younger than Tony, so we've stayed very close. I'll see her in May, and I adore her. And so Tony had called to ask Cheryl and me to do this fundraiser. Cheryl and Tony were very, very good friends. And so I was getting ready to end with Over the Rainbow, and it dawned on me he knew Judy very well. And I'm kind of crazy to be singing this in front of him because it's her song,
Right.
not my, well, it's
Right.
my song, I consider it, but no, humbly. So I sang it, and I thought, he's going to tell me the honest truth because that's what Tony did. So Tony walks up to me and he says, and I'm bracing myself because I thought, if he doesn't like it, I'm never going to be able to sing it again. So he looked up at me and I saw he had a tear.
Oh
And
my goodness.
and he said just these
You,
words.
you did it.
Judy, no, Judy would have been proud.
Wow.
So that was
Wow.
it. So I'm still singing
Wow.
it. And so here it is. Um, Somewhere over the rainbow way up high, there's a land that I've heard of once in a lullaby. Is that good? Should I do
Oh
more?
my God. Are
That's
you
it.
kidding me here? Can, hold on. Hold on. I could listen to you all day. I don't want to ask my questions.
Oh, no, no,
I,
you are not.
no, I mean, that's a beautiful, beautiful song. And what's moved me here, and you've kind of, you've kind of made me emotional a little bit, Maria,
Oh,
but
chef, that's amazing. Thank
you
you.
can really tell so let me use a beautiful analogy. You can tell when someone cooks an omelet, for example, with love. That they just are pouring their energy and their it's how my wife cooks. She cooks from her heart. And it's one of the reasons that it's rare to get the same recipe from my wife twice because her mood changes, right? So
Yeah,
sometimes it's an
yeah.
aggressive omelet and sometimes it's a very loving
I
omelet.
love that.
But
That's
it's a
true.
big difference between a robotic, technical execution of a recipe, right?
Yeah.
And I'll get over this, I promise. But
I'm so
you could
touched.
just tell that you're singing from the heart. This is something you've sang many, many times.
Well, yeah,
It just
decades.
comes out beautifully. Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to have to work with Noel to get that track, the whole track,
It's
onto
in
the
the it's
recording.
in the album. The Over the Rainbow is in the
In
album.
every,
I ended with it. Yeah, in
so
everything.
maybe we just
Yeah,
drive everyone to everything, right? So
I
that
love
they
that.
can,
I'd be
and
very
s- and
happy.
and snowbird or songbird,
Songbird, yeah.
songbird.
Well,
Yeah.
Chef Shantae, her favorite is the Funny Valentine. So when
Yeah.
I can see hits of different places in the world where people are listening, and I always know she's listening.
Oh my goodness. Before I actually get to the agenda of questions, where do you find the time for all of this? Because you're also, let's say, a perfect student, right? Not to embarrass
Well,
you,
I don't
but
know. I try. I'm a little
wow.
obsessed with it. It's a bad deal. I keep thinking when I break my 100, I can relax because every single week I'm like, okay, here we go. I have to keep it going. No, I'm very type A. I mean, as you could probably already tell, and yet I watching your podcast and getting to know the people that you're interviewing, and I love your style, and it's so brilliant. So thrilled to be part of this. I kept listening and going, I can't do that. I don't do that. How do they do that? How are they doing that? That's amazing. So I think I'm hard on myself. I want so badly to do what the album is. I want everything. In
Yeah.
the words of everything, I'd like to plan a city and play the cello and play at Monte Carlo and play Othello and move into the White House and paint it yellow. I mean,
Yeah.
I just want to do it all. And I think that's what it is. I'm a high energy person, and I'm someone who really knows how to slow down too. And I think that's the key, because so many people who do a lot don't know how to stop. Part of longevity is understanding balance. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm really obsessed with that. But also, I am somebody who can compartmentalize, because I've thought
Hmm.
about your question, and I do a lot. I'm managing a lot. I have a 25-year-old son who's fantastic and a creative. Also, I have a very creative and very driven husband who has done a tremendous amount in his life. And I think my only problem is that when I'm geared up in that high energy Tasmanian devil spiral, I can be overwhelming. And I think a lot of chefs, a lot of singers, a lot of people who are creative,
Overwhelming to yourself or to
no,
others?
to others.
To others.
It's sometimes it's like, whew. And if you don't know me, I had one of my singers, she was so sweet, Ashley Nunez. I'm going to call her out because she's going to watch this, I'm sure.
Let's go.
She's a brilliant singer. We were just with her. And she turned to me and she reminded me, she goes, Miriam, remember what I said about you? I said, what? She goes, I really think that this is your universe and we're all just actors in your play. And I went, really? Is it that
God.
bad? Because
But what's a perfect example of an A personality is that, don't you love that comment?
yeah, I
I
was
want
actually
somebody to say
quite,
that about me.
it's a compliment. I
It's a
was,
total compliment. I
yeah,
love it.
like,
I love it.
sure. Yeah, but
Let's
I'm also good at, I also, what we both share is that we're educators. So I have to take a step back. I have to produce, push, and then let go and allow somebody to shine, because that's my joy. If somebody else is shining,
Well,
I'm
sure, sure.
joyful.
And
Yeah.
you do that with your children too.
Yeah.
Before you get too far, I want to come back. I love the word everything. I love that that's the title. Now that I know you, it certainly matches your personality. But you said something about slowing down. One of my favorite podcasts to listen to just better understand how to talk to guests and how to contribute when it's necessary to contribute, how to listen when it's important to listen, is Armchair Expert with Dak Shepard. It's playful, it's fun, it's popular. There's cussing, we don't cuss, but he would ask that. He would have stopped you and said, "How do you slow down?" So I'm going to more respectfully ask, "How do you slow down when you're looking in the mirror and you know that you're going 100 miles an hour? How do you slow down?" This is like therapy for me, by the way.
Love it. No, I think that's really great. And it's a great question. Honestly, I slow down in ways that make me more of a consumer than a producer.
Huh. Huh.
So I live in the Tampa Bay area. And so I drive an hour and a half to Disney, and we're Disney Vacation Club members. I, I sit down there.
That doesn't sound like slowing down.
No, 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 I don't go, like, we'll just sit at the patio and look outside and
Yeah,
do
yeah.
nothing. I'll go to a lovely restaurant and meet the chef, and I don't eat processed oils. So at Disney, you have to meet the chef because you have to discuss the things that you won't eat. And usually I get very lucky because the chef will make me curate something stunning that I love.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
and I will, coming to Canyon Ranch, I will spend time by myself. And that's new because when I was young, I grew up in a huge Greek family, my big fat Greek family. And I, Neo was right. I mean, all of
You're a
those
vegan?
things.
That's okay. I'll make lamb.
Right. I loved it. That was just great lines, you know. Like my dad, I'm watching it with my dad and they pan to the house and my dad, this, you know, cheesy Parthenon-esque house, and I'm sitting with my dad and he turns to me and he goes, "See, Maria, that's the house I always wanted." Like I was living it in the audience. But
Oh my gosh.
I was afraid to be alone because I was never alone. I was five girls. I have four sisters, and a grandmother living in the house, and aunts and uncles, and three female cousins, all living within a mile of each other. And so there were always voices. I slept with voices in the house. I awoke to smells in the kitchen. I was never alone. And so it was scary for me. I couldn't sit in a restaurant and eat alone. I didn't know how to do any of those things. So now I
Huh.
treasure it. So, you know, sitting out in the patio at Disney or sitting in a restaurant or having a conversation with somebody. I went on a hike in Canyon Ranch the last time I was here. And I will meet and enjoy several people, one of whom was Amy Grant. We were hiking together talking about how our husbands had both sung songs with our name in them. And about singing and being female and songwriting. And so I said to myself, I'm going to take this hike and I'm not going to talk to anybody because it's my nature to be gregarious. I said, I need to be alone on this hike. So I purposely held back and I walked up by myself. And the guide that was with me, Kelly, ended up talking with me to the point where I had a bigger conversation than I ever had. I'm doing a session with him on breathing in altered states tomorrow. And we had a session the next day, he and we both kind of healed each other in a lot of different ways. And it turned out to be the best thing ever. Why? Because I was silent and something came to
Oh,
me.
imagine that. Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
the hard part for people to understand. Sometimes you have to stop making things and you have to see what comes in on you and what you need to receive. And I think that the culinary world is so much like that because we put so much pressure on ourselves to get it right, to know the formulas, to understand how to use the product, to know the chemical combinations and the traditions and the temperatures. But if you kind of stop for a minute, like you said, your wife makes omelets and it depends on her mood as to what kind of omelet you make. I think food is like that and food experiences are like that. It's like
Yeah.
chewing.
Yeah.
We know we don't chew enough. We don't chew long enough for our digestion. Take a minute and chew, and you're going to taste things in your mouth, and you're going to have flavors and aromas and experiences and textures that you wouldn't have noticed if you just gobbled down your meal.
Well,
So,
they say, stop and smell the roses or the tulips to be more appropriate
yeah.
today, right? It's important. Before I jump into your bio, I mean, this has just been so much fun already. We haven't even gotten to any questions.
I
I
hope I'm
just,
answering some of your
well,
questions.
this is absolutely useless trivia, but you mentioned Amy Grant, big fan. I
Me
think
too.
she's still married to Vince Gill, right?
Yes.
So we were talking to someone the other day who went to Vegas to the Sphere, right, to see the Eagles, and guess who was playing with the Eagles? Vince Gill.
There you go.
Isn't that something? I mean,
That
who would have
is.
ever thought that,
Yeah.
20 years ago? I've been a Vince Gill fan for a long, long, long time. So, but
Wow.
yeah, what a small world. Let me
I
let
love it when artists collaborate. Like there's always so much
Yeah,
fun in that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So he probably grew up loving the Eagles, and now he's on stage with them, and arguably one of the most incredible venues, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk about you. Let's talk a little bit more. The bio is amazing. I could have gone on and on, but I just need to understand your husband, who has this unbelievable career. That's a whole nother show. Like I told you at the
Yeah.
beginning, I spent more time researching him. um, performed at the White House. I think you have met at least four sitting presidents and their first ladies. And I would just love, with that as a backdrop, I'd love for you to talk a little bit about how you've fashioned, let's call it a colorful career that intersects sort of this world of, I'm not going to limit it to opera. I'm going to suggest
Yeah, yeah,
music
right.
and wellness and the White House, which you're going to paint yellow,
That's right.
um, against culinary arts or with culinary arts. So talk about how this all comes together a little bit. You're going to give away all your secrets here.
Well, no, I mean, I'm happy to. I feel like we need to talk more about a lot of things, and I think the world is starting to. Um, I I'm trying to back up to your questions. So the first thing I'll say is my husband was the most recorded opera singer of his time, and was
Wow.
fortunate
Wow.
because there's a legacy of recordings of him. And back to Maria Callas days, who I just did a concert, a benefit concert for my cathedral in Tarpon, and the author Nicholas Gage was speaking about his new book, and it was a tribute to Callas. Um, he said it well. Maria Callas was, we think of opera as BC it and AC, before Callas and after Callas, because she changed what we think of. It drives me crazy, some of these commercials of the lady with the breastplates and the horns singing, I hate that. Because that's not who we are. We're storytellers, and opera singers are beautiful and they're fit and they're wonderful. And so Maria Callas changed what opera was. So my husband is part of that legacy. He was a singing actor, and he looked like the Marlboro Man. I mean, he had
Yeah.
everything. He was tall, he was gorgeous, he was American looking, he sang high notes like tenors, and he was musical, he was a conductor. So that was an intimidating thing for me as a young singer. I met him as a young singer and was not put together when I met him. I was still studying and putting my voice together and discovering what my world was going to be in opera. And so I just sort of was with him and absorbing and taking, like, we were saying, I stopped and received. So one of the things I started doing was I was meeting the most famous operatic people of all time, from Luciano Pavarotti to Joan Sutherland to, I mean, in the opera world, Andrea Bocelli. And so, I was like, now, what can I do about that? Because I can't sing right now. I'm still working, still getting it together, still a student, but I can do something. So I started working with young singers about questions they would want to ask a famous person. And this was back before this format, before the internet. It didn't exist. So I would go to my husband's friends who were major stars, and I would ask the same question of them that these young singers helped me curate. And then I wrote an article called A Conversation With. So my point is, I never stopped doing anything I could to be curious about the industry. So when I started putting my voice together and then started getting work, and started singing with my husband for that little slice of time that we had, um, it was sort of funny for me because people would say things like, I would audition and they would say, I didn't expect you to be that good. Because it's the take my wife, please. You know how that goes. So it was
A little bit.
a little bit. So for me, it was almost having to prove twice that I was capable of doing what I do in the industry. So it made me a little bit tougher, and it made me a lot bolder. I had a lot more chutzpah. And if you don't know if those of you listening don't know what chutzpah means, it is a Yiddish term for having a lot of guts. And so, yeah, I thought, you know what? I'm just going to dig my heels in and do what I can. And I think that's a part of my success and my failure, because I put a lot of pressure on myself. And let's face it, I just wasn't going to be the major star that my husband was. And that's okay. So what I became was kind of an everything. I became producer, writer, director, lecturer, mentor, um, you know, career consultant, even wardrobe consultant. Singers sometimes don't know how to dress on stage. So, how
I'm
to
going to
make a
call
set.
I'm going to call that very entrepreneurial or fiery. Before I share a narrative that I really love, when you auditioned for the Baltimore Opera, I'd love for you to speak. Growing up in a Greek home,
Yeah.
I'm sure that you were influenced by the exquisite cooking of your mother, in the family. Talk about that a little bit,
Oh,
and
yeah.
some of the Greek dishes and the entertaining. How did that family spirit, and I'm assuming this right now, right? I'm just, listening to you talk and assuming this. How did that add to your ambitions, your desire to be successful?
Well, my father was actually an actor. He was degreed in theater in Egypt. My parents were Egyptian Greeks. They were
Okay,
100% Greek from the Dodecanese, the 12 islands. Dad was from Simi, Mama was from Castellorizo, but they were raised in Egypt in Alexandria because of the war. They all moved there. There's
sure,
a big
yeah,
Greek community in Alexandria. So my father became a Shakespearean actor in a troupe, uh, with the Shakespeare translated into Greek for the Greek community.
oh
So he
wow.
was a really intelligent man. He was very much a theater person, very fiery personality, and a lovely, lovely, very just fun person to be with. And he spoke a lot of languages, but he had to raise his children with five girls. I mean, I was born in America, but my sister was born in Egypt and then South Africa. So he was practical. He became a merchant marine, and then he did an online class on air conditioning, and he became a machinist. But he never stopped acting. He's registered in Florida as the official Garagiosi, which is a shadow puppet theater, official Garagiosi puppeteer. He's passed. He's been gone a while. And mom was a singer. She loved to sing. She used to sing on the boats with her dad when she was young. So my parents were both kind of performers, but my mom had a magic. Angeliki was her name, and she had the magic of drawing people to her. She had big Greek eyes and a soft-spoken way about her, and she knew how to throw a party. So people would want to come to the Zouves house. We'd go to Greek dances, and then they would be like, "Are we all going to Kiki's house?" Yes. So everyone would show up, and mom would pull out the eggs and the French fries she made that night, and the meatloaf that she has done, and the dolmades that she had rolled, whatever she had around, and she would cook up just a Greek smorgasbord, if that's a thing. And I was part of that. And she was cooking in the morning until night. She would have me sit at her table, and I would roll out koulourakia, little Greek cookies. And it just was always about food. There was always a pot of food on the stove. And so mama used food as love, as most mothers do. And my father never ate at restaurants because he would always say, "Why? When I have the best food in the whole wide world." And he starved as a child. He starved. He was a starved, poor kid in Alexandria, Egypt. So he just loved my mother's cooking, and he was appreciative, and he raved about it. So I think the combination of the two, and the fact that he was such an actor, so at the parties he would dance and sing, and they would drag me out and make me do my Cher impersonation. So I performed like Sylvia does at her parties. I would always have to get up and perform, and I loved it. So you
You got to
know,
give us 15 seconds of share. Come on. You
oh
can't
God,
say that and not
I
give me
just,
some share.
I have such respect for that woman, that artist, that human being. I don't know. I would have I have a lot of chutzpah, but I don't, I would do the hair toss, and I would do the
I love it. Yeah.
gypsies, tramps, and thieves. I would do.
I love it.
Can't
We
believe I
grew
just
up with
did that.
Sonny and Cher,
Yeah,
right? So,
I would watch
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Carol Burnett show, Sonny and Cher, the Dolly Parton show. Do you remember that?
Yeah, of course.
She
Of
would do
course.
"Love is like a butterfly, as soft
Oh
and
my
gentle
gosh.
as." Anyway, so we have to stop. I'd like to
We
talk
we
about
need
food.
like we need like 2 hours. But let me I want to connect the dots with let's say the most rewarding part for you? The narrative I was mentioning earlier is when you auditioned for the Baltimore Opera and you were told you were hired, and then you looked at the general director and you basically quipped, "But I want your job." And
That's
I
right.
love that, right? Because it's honest. I imagine you've never applied for a job that you're qualified for. You're always, trying to achieve more. Same. With that in mind, then you landed the prestigious job at Strauss Center for the Performing Arts in 2007, I believe it was. Served on the vice president team and as I think you were the associate general director of the opera in Tampa until 2011. And the accolades go on and on and on and on. I'm curious, again, the intersection of your career in music and the performing arts, and then we'll get into your journey with nutrition and art.
Yes.
What's been most rewarding for you? I mean, how do you pick? What's the podium?
Yeah, God, such a good question. That you're asking hard questions. I love that.
I know the script was just very general, Maria.
It just
Very
doesn't.
general.
I think the most rewarding thing for me is that I've learned to accept. This sounds backwards. I'm not answering your question, but when you're in the arts, you tend to think that fame is the equivalent of success. And I think the culinary world, the more people I meet in the industry, the more I realize, while I love and respect so many people who are TV personalities in the culinary world, and I'm intimidated that, you have all these people on the show and here I am. Uh, but it's about how well you do your craft. And that's what my shining glory is for me, is that what happened in my decades of being in music, I've not only accepted, I love and am proud of it, and not
Mm,
thought, but I could have, but I should have, but why didn't I? And it was the love affair that I had to come into with my singing. And we'll talk about that because it's nutrition based. So I know you said you were going to ask me about that. That
yeah, yeah.
having struggled with my voice sort of as my career was taking off, and that's not the reason why I didn't have a huge career at the Met. There's a lot of reasons. It's a tapestry. But it was it forced me to love my voice in such a way that I had to accept it when it betrayed me.
Mm,
And
mm.
that's really hard. Athletes talk about it a lot. Like Shelley talked about it with me the first time I met her on the phone. We were talking, and she said, "You're an athlete." I said, "Actually, no, I'm a singer." She goes, "No, no, you're an athlete. Singers are athletes. Opera singers are athletes." So there's an equivalent, when you injure yourself. I'm so it's a key moment for me where I said to myself, I accept so much that I'm happy with what I've done that I'm really ready to move on to another discipline
Mm.
and come to it with the humility, at least I try, come to it with the humility of it's a life's journey, and I'm halfway through a life. I'm hoping I'm only halfway through, but it's a life's journey that is beginning at zero. Even though I've lived
Hmm.
with food my whole life, I'm beginning at zero, which is really scary, but it's also easier for me than it would have been if I had decided to go into, and I had no intention of going into culinary ever. I was a visual artist and then I became a performing artist. But I brought myself to music in a way that was way too ambitious and too much about, I want to be rich, famous, and powerful, which is also one of the songs that's on my CD. But it's just do the work, and be excellent. And I love that I came to that at this stage of my life, because if I hadn't, I think the what ifs and regrets would have eaten me alive. And you can't live in that because you metabolize it. Your body cells listen. And if you keep feeding that kind of negativity, it comes out in everything you do, like your omelet.
Exactly. Do the work and be excellent.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that. You mentioned the word craft, and I promise I'll move on, but such an important word, respect the craft. That, my father back there in the picture I mentioned to you, that's all he ever really said, as he's a master pastry chef, but all he ever really talked about was respecting the craft, the craft. So I don't care if you're a carpenter or an opera singer or a chef, or a lawyer or a doctor, respect that craft. And, so I love that resonates with me. Um, I mentioned that we're going to talk a little bit about your health journey and this connection between nutrition and the arts. And we'll talk a little bit about your studies right now. You've been very open about your struggles with health, with weight, and how it led you to focus on nutrition. I'm not surprised you went in, full board. So if you're comfortable, Maria, with sharing, could you please, for our listeners, perhaps elaborate a little bit more on this love-hate relationship with food,
Mm.
developed while being in the performing arts, which you absolutely love. And there were some things that you could and couldn't control, like, reflux issues and
Yeah.
how that could impact your singing. Um, and for though, again, it's a big question. For those who are in the performing arts sector and in the spotlight, if you will, what's your advice after all of that? What's your advice? Because this is what people are going to want to hear when it comes to
Okay.
nurturing a healthy relationship with food.
That
Sorry, that's a lot
I,
there,
I know
but
you're. It's really like again complicated, wonderful question. So I'll try to answer it without us taking 3 hours, not just two. Um, it all stems on why you have food in your life. So I think one of the biggest issues we have today in terms of eating unprocessed, eating well, eating, is that food is a huge part of our socialization. So we eat too late, we drink too much with it. When we communicate with a Netflix movie, and we are communicating with the screen, even if it's passive, um, we use food as part of that bridge of communication. We sit with potato chips, we sit with popcorn, we sit with
mm,
whatever.
mm,
So I feel like it's that relationship that we're having with food is based on the ahora or the after, as we said. But it's also about body imaging. So the big advice that I would give to anyone, and not just in the performing arts, I think it's to everyone, because for me, I thought it was about being skinny. And now, as we know more and we delved into the nutritional realm, we know that there's sick skinny. We know that skinny isn't really it. It's really about having nutrients in your body and your body being fed by the things you're feeding it, not just food,
mm,
but
mhm,
feeding it.
mhm.
And so, what I tell people all the time, because singers, they tend to be, we think of singers as being heavier. It's not really the case. I tell singers, be healthy, move, sleep, eat the rainbow, take care of the nutrition that's going into your body, take care of the timing that you put the nutrition into your body, hydrate yourself with the right things. Don't take powders and throw them into a water bottle and think that you're doing right by yourself. Read the label. And so the rest comes. If we've already proven it in studies and science and health and wellness, that when you take care of those things, the rest comes. Yes, I had inherent peristalsis issues, meaning that the movement of my food was slower than most, and I inherited it from my mom. My mom had it too. But I kept using weight control as a means of thinking I was healthy, and that's not what it was. So I'm not going to say that I was bulimic, but sometimes I would eat to the point where I was sick and it wasn't moving fast enough. So I would have to find a way to remove it. And so I think that it sounds terrible, but I'm telling the truth. So there were times when I would be physically ill, and that would add to the gas that was coming up and the acid that was coming up. And so I would get alkaline burns. So because the peristalsis was bad and the valve to my stomach was bad, I just kept burning my esophagus. And then as I would get sick, I would burn it more. And then I couldn't sing. And what I should have done, and that's why I keep telling singers, learn from me. What I should have done is just paid attention to the what and when I was eating rather than weight and weight loss. Because that's not the answer. We think of it as the answer, and we want to, the world wants to make it the answer. So we find a nutritional thing and then we say, and this will help you lose weight. So let's product something, let's market something that's not really about what we're talking about and market it as that so that you'll feel like you're going to lose weight if you use that product. It's so bad. It's such a problem. And I don't want to be someone who disses anything that's out there, but I do want to be someone who's an advocate for the good things that are available to us right now. And I do it with my singers all the time. Like, love your body. If you have a curve, you have a curve. If you have a little pooch, you earned it. But love your body and be healthy. Unprocess your darn food as best you can. Everything's processed. We know that. We learned that. But look at your label and don't order something or don't buy something that your body has to work hard to detoxify what you've put in. Just stop doing that and see what happens.
Really, really good advice. And if I could just say, I appreciate the transparency. I'm gonna use another quote. We've done a lot of work on you. Can I just tell you? We've done a
Oh
lot of
my God.
research, a lot of
Oops.
research. So Maria, you said again, I quote, anyone at any time can go down the road of a healthier and happier life through two things, food and art. I love that. My desire, your desire, is to help people find a healthy relationship with food and not feel it's just about weight and dieting. You just said that.
Yeah.
It's about community, great word, great experiences we share alongside self exploration and personal growth. Through nutrition and wellness, we find out so much about ourselves and others, just like in music. And like singing, people in the culinary world are storytellers. Can I just tell you how much I love that? Starting conversations and creating emotions. And you, Maria, want to be a part of the conversation. Now I'm going to embarrass you again. I have access to a lot, so I know that you're in our holistic nutrition and wellness course online. I also know that you're doing really, really well. I'm just going to say you're at 100%.
Chef Albert might
Albert, I'm
have
coming
other
after you, buddy.
information.
I'm
I don't
coming.
know. I don't know.
So,
But
so for Albert, 99% is really, really,
I'll
really
take it.
good.
I'll take
So,
it.
so,
Yeah.
but for the audience, I want people to know that a class we call 130, HW 130. It's the first holistic nutrition class that students in this program take in the
Right.
holistic nutrition program sequence, right? So,
Right.
and I don't know how you did it, but it's typically in the second term, and depending on whether you had transfer credits and all of that. But I think you probably had Professor Shelley Travers Smith, right? She's
Yes.
registered dietitian. She teaches the course, and 130 is it's a foundation, it's a primer for the program, right?
Mhm.
We cover, you are in topics such as how metabolisms function, the role and the differences between macro and micronutrients, digestion, how nutrition needs can change over a person's lifespan. That's so important. How
Right.
food choices influence health, and the outcomes of health, right? So on and so forth. And it's a really, really, really great class. And
It
I'm so
is.
glad that you're in it. We've worked with Shelley for many, many, many years. I'm just curious what discoveries you've made. How has your experience been? And then, yeah, I'm assuming it's been good. That
Oh, it's been amazing.
how do you incorporate this new knowledge or this confirmed knowledge, if you will, into your mission going forward? Everything.
Yeah, well, I, I it's really interesting because in our industry, you have to have a level of extraordinary confidence to get up and do what you do. Like last night, I had to hold people at attention for 90 minutes with just my voice and my
Mm,
very, very talented collaborators at the keyboard. And I have to tell stories in between the music, and they have to be timed and funny, and or poignant and punched right.
mhm,
So
mhm.
that confidence does serve, but at the same time, I don't know so much about the culinary world. So I feel this pressure to like take it in, take it in, take it in. Like I need to learn this because if I don't learn this, then I can't go to this place. And I've not been in the heat of a kitchen. I've not worked in a restaurant beyond waiting tables when I was in college. My uncle had the town restaurant in Buffalo, New York, and my cousins worked in it from the time that, you know, they were little to, whatever. Now they sold it just now, but they took it over from their father. I know a restaurant is the toughest business. It's just so rough. Like producing an opera. I produced the Savannah Voice Festival, 36 events in 2.5 weeks. Every day there's something going on. And when it's your turn, you have to be there. And when you're producing an opera, it all has to go right. The lighting, the orchestration, the singers, the backstage, the props, everything, the set change. So it's not dissimilar to that. But if somebody doesn't like a high note, nobody gets sick. If somebody eats the wrong food, they can. So it's very intimidating. And so I've been eating it up as much as I can. And that class, you're talking about that class, there's a lot of information in that
Yeah,
class.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
There's
It's the
truckloads.
foundation, right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
truckloads of information. So one of the things that I do is I will cut and paste out of things and I'll put them into my own little workshop pages, and I'll keep referring to them. I'll just use them as a basis for what I need to learn. And I will tell you a funny story about Professor Shelley. Is the first question that she asked in the foundation, the first discussion was about intermittent fasting, which is what really saved me. It was really the beginning of my journey to this wellness space, was the idea that I don't have to eat all day and I can give my digestion a chance because I had IBS and I had a lot of digestive issues and I was very uncomfortable most of the time. And I love food. So the intermittent fasting portion of it really helped heal my gut. And a healthy gut is a healthy life, right? So
Yes, absolutely.
she asked the first discussion question, and I had done so much online research because we have so much research and already done, and there's so many things we can access, like this podcast, like your wonderful series, like the series that are out there of other wonderful people that are having these conversations, and cancer researchers like Walter Longo, and just great people who have done the work for us. So go in there and listen and inform yourself. And don't pretend you're an expert because you've done that, but at least inform yourself, right? And so the question was, talk about intermittent fasting between cavemen and today. And this had already been like, I had sucked up all the information. It was right here, just like I had learned in opera. And so without even having to retract my resources, my discussion was like this long. It's supposed to be this long. It was this long. And I even cited all my resources because I remembered them. And Shelley came back and said, wow, you're really amazing. I go, no, you just hit my favorite subject. I was like, wow, she probably thinks I'm really good at this. No, I just happened to hit IF as the
Serendipity.
first.
I
It
love
was
it.
just,
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
perfect because it gave me some confidence going into the class. Then it got even more complicated with all of the micros.
Confidence and curiosity are super, super important,
Oh,
right?
I love that, Chef. Yes.
Keep that confidence. Keep that
Confidence and
confidence.
curiosity. Yeah.
You know, while you're responding, I'm constantly thinking about what I'm going to ask you to sing as we wrap up. So, yeah. Oh my
You just
goodness.
wanted a concert today.
Oh, I did, and we're gonna. I do want to come back though to some of this incredible work you're doing. You're a multidisciplinary professional, right? We're learning that today, and you're running these voice programs, or you have run these voice
Yeah.
programs with your husband, and you also have several other passions that you're pursuing, like, and I've never camp gladiator, sketching, painting, traveling. What's a camp
I
gladiator?
love that. So it's a program that we have in the Southeast that is, I call it PE for adults. I have a wonderful trainer and Christy, and
So it's physical. It's literally
it's
physical.
yeah. So we meet outside at different areas. It's a great thing, and they have it online too. You meet outside different areas of the community, and a bunch of us get together with a certified coach. It's a certified program, and then you basically have an hour of PE. So you play games, but the whole time you're doing it, you're doing hit training, you're doing endurance, you're doing all sorts of things. So it's fun. But the thing about me is if you go to Camp Gladiator when it's my time, I will feed you scones or sourdough or something I made because I'll get up at 4 or 5 a.m. and bake because it's my therapy and it's quiet time. And so I like to share it, and my poor husband and son can't eat that many carbs for too long. So I will take it in for them, and they love it. They're like, "Oh, what did Maria bring today?" So it's fun. I love moving my body. I don't consider myself athletic. We're a little clumsy in our family. Zouves girls fall. Don't know why.
You're a fall risk. You're a
Where
fall risk. Yeah.
we just fall, but so I've really made it a point. Like I said, I like really I can't do it. I don't think so. So I just do it, and so I've worked out my whole life. I've done everything I can, but I always try to make it fun. So I move on to a new drug, and so one of them is running. I love to run, and I didn't run until my 50s. I didn't start. I just didn't think I could. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I've done some half marathons and done some really fun runs. And
You go all in. You're not just running. You're competitive, and
I'm a little competitive.
I
Yeah,
love
just a
it. I
little.
love it.
So,
Let's um we're kind of coming to the top of the hour, probably past the hour. But I'm not done. I I would love to give you the opportunity to Maria to talk a little bit about upcoming um concerts and such that
sure.
yeah, this is your ability to promote everything, right? So
Ooh,
where can our listeners go?
it's funny because I need to get on the grid. It's one of the goals I have is to get on the grid as an individual because my presence is really with our voice programs. I've dedicated 25
Okay.
years of my life to it. And even having operas written for me to perform in the program, and doing projects like going to Prague and directing where Mozart actually premiered a work that I'm directing is because I was trying to find new talent for my program. So I just have lived with it. It's been a relationship that I've had forever. So everything and all my dates are on the voiceexperiencefoundation.org website.
Perfect.
So
Perfect.
it's all been there. And now that I'm going into the culinary writing that I do, like Food for Life, and I've got some other projects I'm starting to delve into, I realize I have to have my own presence. So I'm giving advice to myself. Get out there and get your own presence. And this podcast is a big part of it. So it's
I love it. And
forcing me to.
we'll put the links into um yeah, because we'll be on Spotify and YouTube and
Yeah,
on the
great.
website and all that. We'll put all the links and um
And you can
And
find my album in all of those platforms. So if you just
Spotify,
Google,
Apple.
yeah, everything,
Okay,
and even
perfect.
YouTube, my debut at Don't Tell Mama's Cabaret, fabulous cabaret space in New York City on Restaurant Row. Um, and I'll be back there in May. May 9th will be my second time there with my cabaret show. And there are some really fun clips from that concert on YouTube.
Perfect.
So they
You
can
you
look
know
that up.
that reminded me. This is probably a silly question. My being naive. Can you define in your words what a cabaret is?
Oh, great question. So, so, cabaret is it's the movie. Life is
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's
it's
the
a
only thing going through my
it's
mind,
an
right?
intimate
Yeah.
space. It's a speakeasy. It's a place where people get up and do storytelling. It's musical storytelling, songs, and songbook. And so, kind of the trope is people sit at a small table with their drink and maybe a food bite, and then performers perform for them. They entertain them. It's like a variety show. And so, a cabaret artist typically are artists who are doing a solo act. So, they have to tell a story from the beginning of the cabaret show to the end. So that storytelling is, and I that's the one thing that you read, the quote that I had written, is that's what all of that is. Being a storyteller means that somebody's listening or someone's experiencing it. So that's what cabaret is, because
I
you're storytelling.
Liza Minnelli would be proud. I love that response, right? When I
We have
was
the same
reading,
birthday, by the way, Liza
no
Minnelli and
way.
I. Yeah, March 12th.
Oh my goodness. Oh,
Yeah.
you just had a birthday.
Yes, I did.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Happy birthday. It's interesting because when I was reading that, doing that research, I looked up cabaret and I was like, I bet Maria would define this differently. And you did. You did. Storytelling, we keep coming back to that theme. And I am going to ask you one more question, but I'm just blabbing now. But I'm going to keep coming back to that theme because I was talking to one of our chefs this morning, Alex Porter. He teaches a class we have here in Boulder on ground called 135. It's restaurant operations, right? So it's a lot of theory. And at the end of the day, he was asking, a few questions, some advice and stuff. And I just reminded him is that you're a storyteller. You're a storyteller. And one thing that you've probably noticed with Shelley and others and Albert, that we've tried really hard over the last year at Escoffier to ask our teachers, our instructors, our professors to try really hard to be facilitators of knowledge. It used to be like when Chef Cass was teaching you, it was I am speaking, you're going to listen, and you're going to do it the way I've instructed you to do it, right? It's just the way education was, not just in the culinary space, but everywhere. Today, like I was saying earlier, most of our students have so much knowledge in this little thing, right?
Yeah.
And they have a lot of knowledge. We may have some Greek students that ate beautiful food growing up, or Italian students, or German students, or Swiss students, and they may know better than some of our instructors who never lived or cooked or experienced, Germany, Switzerland, Italy, or Greece. And it's important that their voice is heard, right? So we've done, Maria, what we call flipping the classroom. You may not notice it, but we've asked our instructors to send out information in advance, like, hey, take a look at this
Yeah.
and think about it, and then we'll answer your questions when we come together in class, rather than just having to listen to someone for an hour, lecture and stuff.
Well,
So
yeah, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I mean the
no,
thing
no,
with
good.
Sim Cass that was so amazing, Chef Sim was all of the maxims and all of that life experience came out in the manner in which we were preparing the day's bakes, because we would do 4 or 5 bakes a day, and so you were it was being fed and thread into all of our activity. And then he would say, he would just gather us around. So what we learned a lot from was watching him do it in front of us
Yeah, yeah,
and then doing it with him. And
yeah.
that, of course, as an online situation, one of the things that impresses me the most about Escoffier is that, well, two things. One is that for the online curriculum, you don't, yes, I mean, I think there are times where you wish that, I wish that I had, Chef Lene right next to me when I was trying to,
Oh,
build the
sure,
menu or whatever,
sure.
and
Yeah.
Chef Maya when I'm baking. But the point is, it's it's so comprehensive and so hands-on and so accessible. Everyone's so accessible that I have never once thought, "Oh gosh, I wish this wasn't online." And that along with everyone is treated with such respect because we have like sometimes I'll get bogged down on a question and I'll get into the class and I'll ask it and I'll think, "Oh, I'm wasting everybody's time because I'm wanting to have this conversation." And instructors never make you feel that way. In fact, I'll apologize afterwards. I remember I did that with Professor Shelley. I'm so sorry I took so much time to ask about this micronutrient. And she said, no, that's what we're here for. And so I'll see my colleagues, start to have conversations. And our chefs will always come right back in with, yes. And that reminds me of this. And it becomes a learning tool and not a, gee, I wish that colleague had not spent that much time talking about it. No, the contrary. When somebody comes in and asks this question that doesn't even seem related, all of a sudden it gets turned into something I learned that I may not have learned before. So I think that part makes Escoffier. I'm not just saying that because I'm in the space. I think it's a pretty extraordinary curriculum. And
And I'm so
yeah,
thankful for those comments. It's so kind, and we're always learning and always, trying to improve because our students are always changing and trying to improve.
yeah.
Before I let you go, the name of our little show here is The Ultimate Dish. And so I'm not going to let you out of the room before we hear a little bit of Songbird and you tell us what the ultimate dish is. It could be a memory, could be anything. What is the ultimate dish in Maria's world?
Whew, I haven't thought about that. Okay, so this is counterintuitive to the whole conversation that I was having.
Oh gosh.
It is, and I don't mean it to be. I think it has to do with if I'm going to turn it into a message, right, as an educator, I'm going to say it's a testimony to balance. Because for me, the ultimate dish is what I did last night. I sang, and then my wonderful friend here, Samantha Talora, who's also a beautiful singer, but here at Canyon Ranch, she books the talent here. She took me out knowing what I wanted, which is I've been very good, very careful here. I've been IFing, making sure, I'm in a good space vocally to sing. I don't like to eat before I sing. So she took me out to a local place here and I had French fries with tarragon cream and 2 glasses of rosé.
Oh
so,
my
so,
gosh.
so it's not so much the French fries are the ultimate dish, but it's sort of a very funny thing in that I wrote a French fry song. And it's about this. It's about living your life clean and well, but then saying to yourself, sometimes what will make you the happiest and the healthiest mentally is a French fry. So I can sing some of that for you right now. So it's
I first say that no one has ever brought French fries in as the ultimate dish. So I love that. I absolutely, who does not love a great French fry? But with tarragon cream, are you
tarragon
kidding
cream. Yes,
me?
this local place makes it. It's really good. So you just pour the
Wow.
cream on the fry right out of the
Yeah.
fryer. So the cream soaks in with
Oh,
the
of
heat
course
of
it
the
does.
oil.
There's no place else to go.
And I had two and I went, right. I had two and I thought, okay, just that's good. I had two. I'm not going to be able to eat more. Really, it's just not speaking to me until the tarragon started soaking in. And then I looked down and the plate was empty. I don't know how it
Wow.
happened, but it was
Wow.
fantastic. So, and my mom made the best French fries. She would do an olive oil blend and just a little bit of olive oil with it. And she would slow oil them. She wouldn't get the temperature up too high. I didn't know why she was doing it then, but now I know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
she would do, the parboil. She would boil them in
Flash fry them in
yeah, flash
advance.
fry
Yeah.
them, and
That's
then
what you didn't
yeah,
know, right?
that's what I didn't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And so mommy
Yeah.
would do that, and the last batch was always daddy's because she would char them a little bit. He liked them really, really
Yeah.
dark.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And our French fries were gone before she could put them on the table because she would fry a batch and we'd eat them, and she'd fry a batch and she'd hit our hand and tell us not to eat them, but they were always gone.
My
So
goodness.
anyway, so yes, I wrote this song and I sang it last night, and it starts very seriously. I'm an avid health fanatic, eating well and sharing food. I can make you something yummy, quite unprocessed and so good. Give me rainbow-colored veggies. I'm cruciferously spry. But when no one else is looking, even when I'm healthy cooking, my heart calls to something from my youth that I just can't deny. I want a French fry, give me a French fry, dipped in ketchup, mayo, beer, cheese, I will eat them till I die. Yes, I know that they're not good for me and my good gut bugs might die, but my Lord, there's something biblical about a good French fry. There, I sang it for
Oh
you.
my goodness. You wrote it last night. You remembered the words. Maria Zouves. My
Well, I didn't
Lord.
write it last night. I performed it last night. I wrote it at 1 o'clock in the morning one night
You
and I
actually
couldn't
performed
sleep.
that last
I
night?
did.
Oh
It had
my
its
Lord.
premiere here at Canyon
Did
Ranch
they
of all
love it? Did
places.
they love it?
They
Oh,
loved it and they all
oh,
agreed it was the elephant in the room. Like,
that.
where's our French fry?
Oh my God, the elephant in the room.
I just
My,
discredited my whole life's desire for the next decade to make people eat clean by talking about French
I
fries.
just texted my wife that I wanted tarragon cream tonight on anything. So, my goodness, this has been so much fun.
I've had a
Thank you,
blast,
thank you,
Chef. You're
thank you.
amazing. And you have German roots, right? So
Absolutely, absolutely. So,
is there a
lots
German
of,
opera you like? Do you love Mozart and Magic Flute? And I
you
sang
know,
that aria forever.
my what I grew up with that I remember, my dad is actually Bohemian, so after the war, the borders changed. So,
Yeah.
he has very Bavarian roots,
Nice.
and the type of music that came from that region of Germany is Egeland. So it's a little kind of oompa bandish
Mm-hmm.
with
Yes.
yeah, yeah. So that that's what always played in our house. And
That's
and
cool.
yeah, it was just my mother wasn't, as much into the music, but my father always was. My mother's from northern Germany, very proper, and
Yeah, yeah. Big contrast.
big contrast. But my parents are both still alive and
Oh,
enjoying
that's
life,
wonderful.
and doing the best they can. And but yeah, music for me though came much much later, and I love all music, right? I love country music. I love those six
You have great
iconic
taste.
bands up on the wall. And
Yeah.
I have four children, so you kind of go through their genres as well. My younger children are more difficult to understand, their love of music, but isn't music a beautiful thing? There's rarely a kitchen that you walk into that doesn't have some music playing in the background, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, that
It's
goes with
important.
it. I used to build little dinner parties when I was like 12 years old. I would play Dolly Parton's latest album, and then I would curate food that would match it, and I would make everyone come to dinner and listen to the album and eat the food. And it was probably god awful, but I already had that sort of idea that it should go together. It should always go together.
Do you ride motorcycles too?
No,
Okay, so
no.
that's the one. Like I
I
told you
fall.
earlier,
Remember I told you I
you're a
fall.
you're a fall risk. I forgot you're a fall risk.
I try not to die. I'm trying to stay alive as best I can.
I love it, and
So,
I hope and I pray that you do. You have so much more gifts to give to so many. Your voice is
oh, thank
extraordinary,
you.
beautiful, and
You're so
and
sweet.
congratulations on your continued studies. If there's any chance when you graduate that you can graduate in person here in Boulder, Colorado, I'd love to welcome you to the campus and we'll
I
get
would
you up on
love that.
stage. We'll get you up on
I'll sing
stage.
at the commencement.
Oh my gosh, would
I
that
want
be
a French fry.
beautiful?
No, just
I,
kidding.
that would be beautiful. I have to introduce you to Sylvia, and together
Yes, I
you
would
have
love
to
to
make
meet
something
her.
beautiful.
Yeah.
She did know who your husband was. I don't know that many people don't.
You
So,
know, it's very funny because I have people that will say, oh, yes, I live in the opera world. My sister, when I first got married to Sherrill, of course, Sherrill Milnes, strange name, right? It was after the Right Reverend Henry Knox Sherrill. And so,
oh yeah, 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 yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
so you can tell people that really don't know the industry because my sister said, well, my sister is with Sherrill Milnes. And they said, oh, I know her. She's not even a very good singer. I mean, it's like they don't know her because it's not a her. So
He's from the Midwest.
he's a
It's a
farm boy.
common name, years
Yeah.
ago in the Midwest. Yeah,
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 he's a true farm boy and grew up with
yeah,
church
yeah.
music and that kind of thing. So, yeah, absolutely.
It's been an absolute pleasure. We'll stay in touch. Keep me posted on
Please.
your studies, and we'll send you all the details before we go live in a month or so with this beautiful, beautiful conversation.
And you're
Thank you
going to
so
play
much.
Songbird, right? You're going to play Songbird to play
I
out the recording.
I 100% am. When that's what we'll do. So Noelle's listening. So boom, that's what we're gonna do.
Well,
Instead of my instead of my typical music, we're going with Songbird. Yep.
well, let me tell you, Chef Kirk, you're amazing, and you have the gift of making someone
Gab.
feel at
Yeah.
ease. No, just you to make them feel at ease, and the most special person in the room. That is a gift that you have, is to make someone feel
Well,
so
thank you
important
so
and
much. That's
special.
very
So,
sweet and kind
thank you
of
for
you.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the goal. This is all about Maria.
Wow. How do you solve a problem like?
Right? Right? Like Maria. I'm gonna watch that this weekend again. Oh my
Oh,
gosh.
fabulous. Love
I
it.
love it. I love it. Hey, take good
Thank
care.
you.
Good luck in
Thank you.
Massachusetts and be
Thank
safe.
you.
We'll
And
talk
good
again
luck to
soon.
everyone in the culinary world.
Thank you so much.
Songbird sings from the heart. Each word can tear you apart. I sing, you sing along. You find your life in my song. When you need the strength
say